Another month has come and gone in the basketball world, and with it means we have even more data available to judge the next crop of potential NBA stars coming through the ranks. In anticipation of the NBA draft, I put out a mock draft once every month leading up to the main event to stay up to date on how the top prospects are performing and how they stack up against each other. And over the last month, we've definitely seen quite a bit of movement, with some of the guys shooting up the draft boards, while others are doing the opposite. Before we start though, I want to thank Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. Prize Picks is the most fun and easy way to play daily fantasy sports and have a chance to win up to 100 times your entries. It's so easy to get involved as well. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. It's that simple. While we're all basketball fans here, of course, they offer pretty much any sport you can think of, having them available to choose from and play. So there are so many different ways to play, and the potential combinations you can put together are unbelievable. Prize Picks also offers a ton of specialty promos such as Taco Tuesday and plenty of specialty free spaces for big matchups that come throughout the year, so you won't want to miss out on the chance to take advantage of those. For this week's entry, I'm going with Jared Goff to throw over 250 passing yards in his game this week. To sign up, go down to the link in the description and use code REFERENCE to take advantage of the offer, where all you have to do is place $5 and get $50 added to your account instantly afterwards. Once again, thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring the video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. Starting with the number 1 pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards select Cooper Flagg from Duke. Flagg came into the year as the easy favorite to be selected number 1 overall in June, and while he has definitely done a lot of good things this season, he hadn't been quite as dominant as many thought he would be, and there were a few prospects behind him making a run for that top spot. This past week though, Flagg dropped 42 points against Notre Dame, along with back-to-back 24-point outings, and quickly re-solidified himself as the best prospect in the class comfortably. As the season has gone on, Flagg has looked more and more confident. His 3-ball is steadily improving over time. Defensively, he's a versatile monster, able to impact the game in a ton of different ways, and the level of physicality that he brings as a forward makes him incredibly intriguing as a talent on both ends of the floor, so the Wizards would not think twice here. Next, with the second pick, the Toronto Raptors select Dylan Harper from Rutgers. Harper has arguably been the best freshman in the country this season, producing at a level that definitely even exceeds Cooper Flagg's, and he will continue to push for himself being the one claiming that number 1 pick, but regardless, he is the best guard available and has future star written all over him too. He's been feeling sick the last few games, which has hampered his play, but prior to that, when he was fully healthy, he was averaging 23 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds per game, shooting 52% from the field and 37% from 3, giving Rutgers a little bit of everything inside and out. He's a strong guard that can bully a defender on the way to the rim, he's a crafty ball handler with excellent playmaking instincts, and his 3-ball is serviceable enough to keep defenders on their toes from the outside. So for a Raptors squad in need of help at the point guard position, this is a match made in heaven. Next, with the third pick, the New Orleans Pelicans select Ace Bailey from Rutgers. Bailey was expected to be the prospect on Rutgers that was the one leading the way, but has settled into a second fiddle role next to Harper, and while he is still viewed very highly amongst scouts, there is a growing worry that his game won't quite translate to the NBA as well as they initially hoped it would. Bailey is a phenomenally tough shot maker, but the worry stems from how often he is forced to settle for those difficult, low-quality shots. He may not have the ability to separate off the dribble at the next level, which would limit his scoring upside in a similar way that Jabari Smith Jr. has been limited since being drafted in the top 3 back in 2022, and the offensive profiles of Bailey and Smith Jr. are eerily similar in both the good and the bad ways. Next, with the fourth pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Kasparas Jakučionis from Illinois. Jakučionis has been one of the best players in the country this year as a freshman, just like Dylan Harper, and he continues to get better and better as the season progresses. As another big-bodied guard, he can handle the physicality of the pro game masterfully, running an offense capably doing what needs to be done as both a scorer and a facilitator. He pushes the pace well in transition, he's a master at operating screens, hands and making the right read, and he's averaging 16 points per game, making 50% of his shots and 41% of his threes. The only real weak spot from him right now comes with how often he turns the ball over, so if he can reel that in, he's going to be a big-time player in the near future at the NBA level. Next, with the 5th pick, the Utah Jazz select VJ Edgecombe from Baylor. This is where the start of the next tier group of talent below that top tier begins, and while Edgecombe hasn't been necessarily lighting things up this season, there are still a variety of reasons why he's still projected to be selected so early on. He's an incredible athlete who plays hard from start to finish. He uses those physical tools to impact the game without the ball in his hands on both offense and defense as a cutter and a disruptor. And while he remains in the top 5 for now, he will need to show more consistency shooting the ball to remain in this range moving forward. Next, with the 6th pick, the Brooklyn Nets select Igor Demin from BYU. Demin started the year red hot and flew up draft boards to start the season, but over the last few weeks, he has cooled off quite a bit, and he's slipping back down slightly outside of the top 5. He very well may be the best passing talent in the draft this year as a 6'9", 19-year-old that's still very intriguing for NBA teams, but he still needs to prove that he can capably separate against quality defenders, and after shooting the ball really well for the first month of play, he's made just one of his last 23 attempts from 3, which has resulted in his season 3-point percentage to dip down to just 29%. Next, with the 8th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who own the 76ers pick, select Asa Newell from Georgia. Newell is a tough player to properly place in the context of a mock draft because it's very difficult to see him failing to provide consistently positive impact to an NBA team for years to come, and is probably one of the safest hits in the draft, but his upside is admittedly somewhat limited, and simultaneously it's unlikely that he ever becomes a star. When he goes in the draft, it will come down to which team can afford to spend an early selection on safe and reliable, and the Thunder are exactly that, using the 76ers selection to bolster their front court even further here. Newell is an incredibly versatile defender, he's fundamentally sound on the offensive end, and he knows how to perform in his role, so for a Thunder squad with title aspirations, that's the type of talent they should be looking for in the draft. Next, with the 9th pick, the Chicago Bulls select Kaman Maluach from Duke. With the Bulls headed in a different direction in the near future, they'll be looking to take a big swing on a prospect with huge upside, since their timeline gives them patience to develop, and Maluach is exactly that kind of prospect. He's a massive 7'2" center that moves well and has amazing burst around the basket. He already does a very good job using his size and length to disrupt shot attempts at the rim, and while his overall offensive repertoire is still pretty raw, he's shown glimpses of potentially extending his shooting range that could be honed in more during the pre-draft workouts. Next, with the 10th pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Con Knueppel from Duke. Knueppel may not be lighting things up at Duke right now with the shooting prowess that he was supposed to bring as a recruit, but while the shooting touch has a lot of room to improve and revert back to form, he's been steadily improving in other areas, like playmaking and defending. Scouts are fully expecting him to establish himself as that lights-out shooter still, and the fact that he's capably holding his own on defense while being utilized as a secondary playmaking threat only helps his case, so for a Spurs squad in need of shooting and creation, he will fit right in. Next, with the 11th pick, the Houston Rockets, who own the Suns pick, select Liam McNeely from UConn. The Rockets, like the Spurs, are one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the NBA right now, so targeting another sharpshooter like McNeely would help tremendously. He moves well with and without the ball, he's comfortable shooting on the move, he's lethal off the catch, and he's even been demonstrating more of an ability to create off the dribble, so the Rockets should definitely keep their eye on him. Next, with the 12th pick, the Golden State Warriors select Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma. Fears is a guy rising up draft boards fast, as he has led his Oklahoma squad to a surprisingly good 13-3 start. He's so decisive and quick with his ability to create advantages for himself against an undisciplined defense, he effortlessly sets up open teammates, and while he does need to cut down on the turnovers and convert more consistently from deep, his natural feel for the game will definitely put him in lottery conversations. Next, with the 13th pick, the San Antonio Spurs, who own the Hawks pick, select Ben Saraf from Israel. Saraf is playing in Germany right now, where his role is fluctuating between being a starter and coming off the bench, but regardless of that, he has still produced very consistently. He's a smart player who doesn't try to do too much, and he knows when to attack and when to make the extra pass. He just needs to improve as a shooter to potentially be picked even earlier. And finally, the last pick of the lottery belongs to the Atlanta Hawks because they own the Kings pick, which they will select with it Derek Queen from Maryland. Queen is a highly skilled big man who has unbelievable balance and coordination for his size and is excellent at attacking and driving off the bounce against slower big men. He has range out to the three-point line, he's dominant in the post, and he just knows how to operate in his role and take advantage of mismatches. There are concerns about his defense, but overall, he could contribute in a big way to a team's offense. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below which prospect you're intrigued with the most. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.